Book. It's Jerry coming to you from Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, on the west coast of Costa Rica. It's a beautiful, 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 loving day. We're having a great week. We're overfull. We were overfull last week. We're booked through January and February. It's crazy. What is Rythmia? Rythmia is a true life advancement center. It's a place where you come for a week. You check in one way and you leave another way. What do we use? We use ayahuasca, plant medicine, metaphysical teachings, yoga, breathwork, meditation, fantastic food, and all kinds of programming to bring about this change in you that is a soul merger, a merging of the soul. Now, 13,000 people have been through the doors. 95.72% of them report a life-changing miracle during their stay. 92.71% of them say that this was the week that changed their life. So there's something really cool going on here. What is a soul merger? A soul merger, you may have heard in other traditions as a soul reclamation, is when there's a schism with your soul, when something gets out of line and it cranks it back together. That's what a soul merger is. What is the purpose of Rythmia? What is the mission of Rythmia? When folks come to Rythmia, they tend to leave and turn over a new leaf and want to become a beneficial presence on the planet. And then they spend their life manifesting that beneficial presence. It sounds like a big ordeal, right? But it's really not. It's just living life well, living life to the benefit of the collective. It's just a different way of looking at it, but it's really, really, really manifestation driven. So one of the key takeaways of Rythmia is the art of manifestation. And I know that that's kind of super played out since over the last 10 years, super played out. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's fighting about it. Everybody's fighting over how it works. You have the hard type A's, the masculine macho alphas doing it this way, and these folks are doing it a different way, and everybody's fighting. I don't get any of that. So our way is just a simple, consistent, old-fashioned way. This little transmission is called What Works Number One. And in What Works Number One, we're going to talk about what works, right? So in this art of manifestation, and if you play this out, it goes like this. The soul merger happens. Once that happens, you connect with your purpose, whether that's to be a better husband, father, brother, community leader, business person, artist, musician, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, to become cook, to become a beneficial presence on the planet, you connect with that mission. You make personal agreements where you agree to do these things every day until you get to this place, and then you fall in love with the process and life gets fulfilled. It's a beautiful thing. Simple shit. Couple things. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. It's going to take longer than you've ever imagined, and it's going to have greater results for you than you could ever have dreamed. So just know those things and know that going in. Now, when we make these agreements with ourselves, and everything gets down to, can I honor an agreement with myself? The whole getting from A to Z, the root of the root is, can I honor that agreement with me? Now, if I don't pick this from a place of wholeness, I won't be able to. You know why? Because I'll change my mind. It'll be too hard. So the place you pick it from is the foundation under the building. So when you pick it from a rock solid foundation, then you can honor the agreements with yourself. What makes it easier to honor those agreements? And this is my talk today, is intensity over consistency. What are the things that make it easy or easier to honor those agreements? Is the size bites we take in the agreements. So in other words, Let's say you're a beginning meditator and you say, I'm going to meditate 35 minutes a day, and you make that agreement with yourself, you're probably going to fail. So you start out in smaller bites. That's why consistency over intensity. So you start out in smaller bites. If you're going to start out in proactive prayer, spiritual mind treatments, if you're going to start out with 10 prayers, and then go to 20 prayers, and then go to 30 prayers. But it's the size of the commitment that, and you may never go to 30 prayers, because I'm going to tell you what, 10 push-ups a day for life is a winner. It is. You don't have to do 1,000 push-ups. So I'm going to show you that consistency wins over intensity. And as a matter of fact, the higher the intensity, the less chance of consistency. So what in an ideal world, you want to be intense and consistent, and that creates overachievement in a good way. And I love to see that. But for most of us aren't Elon Musks that can't go quite that hard. We can do a lot more than we think we can do, but we might not be able to do that or be an ultra marathon runner or professional basketball player, but we can do things consistent every day that make us a true beneficial presence on the planet, that allow us to manifest our dreams greater than they have ever been. But it starts with little things. So how do we learn to trust? And it starts with trust. So the trust in ourselves becomes when we write down, we have this merger, we write down how we're going to be a beneficial presence in the planet. That's a goal sheet, you can call it. And we agree to the things it's going to take in order to make that happen. And we agree to do them, and we start doing them. And we do them every day. Now, when you can do that, there is nobody that can deny you access to the end. There is nobody. So if you can do this, do a little every single day, there is nobody who can deny you access to the end. As a matter of fact, as you do this, you're going to turn up the intensity a little bit, and then you start to fall in love with the process. And as you fall in love with the process, you get to where you want to go. Now, do you get there quick? No way. That's why it's so important that we pick this from the right place. If you pick this, right, because you want to show off to your neighbor, it ain't going to work. If you pick it because you want a car, it's probably not going to work. If you pick it because you want to date someone that you have, it's probably not going to work. But if you pick it from everything in you, you pick it from your soul, you're going to stick with it. You're going to stick with it. And it's a bell curve. It starts out a little easy and gets real hard real quick, and then it scales down again. And all of a sudden at the end here, it looks like flow. People look at you and say, oh my God, he's in flow. Look at how effortless it is. Look at Michael Jordan shoot that basketball. Look at Tiger Woods hit that shot. Look at Michael Beckwith preach a sermon. I think it's Agape's 36th year this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's been doing it 36 years with consistency. He's amazing. It's like watching one of the great artists when you watch Michael Beckwith talk. It really is. How to get there? A little at a time. So if you want it all yesterday, you're in the wrong business. If you want it to happen in 2 years instead of 10, you're in the wrong business. If you want to play virtuoso violin in 2 years, you're in the wrong thing, right? You're in the wrong thing. So this happening is the primary part of building the foundation. That's the start of the start. So when you get this to happen and you pick from the right place, which is a merger of my heart, my mind, and my spirit, and people say your gut has to be in it, right? But that's one fracture off, right? So I pick that from that place. I make an agreement with myself and I start honoring agreements. When you start honoring agreements with yourself, you start walking differently, you start walking more erect, you start making eye contact in a new way, you start talking more directly. As you do this, you're influencing others with your confidence. Because if you can trust you, they can trust you. To join forces with you in this thing of whatever you're creating to become this beneficial presence. Now, is this hard? Hardest thing you're ever going to do. Are you going to feel like quitting? Twice a week, probably. Are you going to think that you've made a mistake 2, 3, 4 years into it? Absolutely. But what most of us do is we quit in that early stage. And so if mastery happens at 10 years, because the goal here is to feel mastery. You have never felt godlike until you get so good at something and you can appreciate yourself, not in a cocky way, but when you know that you can take this on and you're going to crush it, you're going to leave your mark on it, you're going to be the Van Gogh of that canvas, and you get that feeling, wow. All of a sudden, that's the ding in crystal, the ding, you get to the ding. That's what we're trying to do. That's what that feeling is. That's what Michael Beckwith hears when he talks. So I'm telling you, to get there, it takes this thing, and it starts with these little things. So we agree to ourselves. We keep our agreements. We act in a particular way, walk in a particular way, talk in a particular way with the right time frame. We know that it's going to take this long, and all of a sudden, these things start coming together in the most beautiful way. And if you want to feel that feeling of mastery and have that mastery portray itself as a beneficial presence on the planet, wow, all of a sudden, that life was worth living. I do feel bad for people who are constantly in startup and feel like they're constantly failing. So, what did Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant have in common? They both sucked at high school basketball. They both sucked at high school basketball. So, had they quit then, and Michael Jordan went to baseball or something, right? They would have felt, I'm no good, right? And now most of us, because we're picking from the wrong place, start and quit, and start and quit, and start and quit. And if you go this way, the last stop on that train is regret, because you can't understand why you haven't found your thing. And the reason you haven't found your thing, because there was never, you hear stories about savants that some 3-year-old kid stumbled into a place with his parents and hopped on the organ and could play it. I think it's bullshit. I don't think it ever happened. I don't think it happened, in my opinion. Because the greatest people that I've ever seen get great at something talk about how bad they were in the beginning. So it's not that you suck at it. It's that you just haven't stuck with it long enough. Now, the greatest part about us, about humans, is our pliability. And I don't care how much of a quitter you were yesterday. Deciding to not quit again is one thought for you. And it changes every single thing. That I am not going to quit. I am not going to quit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it consistently over intensity, because if I tone down the intensity, I have a much higher chance of being able to complete. And just think of it like this. If I were a runner and I said, okay, I'm going to start running 10 miles a day tomorrow. I might do it tomorrow, but I have shin splints by the next day because I didn't build the muscles and now I'm off. Same thing with this. The intensity, start with low intensity and keep the agreements. Figure out what it's going to take you to get there and back into it. And if you do this, all of a sudden, and it's this kind of thing, at Rythmia, we do a lot of stem cell work. And here's what people notice about stem cells. They get stem cells and then they forget that they had pain. And then if you bring it up to them, they go, oh my God, I can't believe I have no pain, but they've forgotten it. So what happens is, as you start having these little wins, and I don't like to deal in wins and losses, but I mean little wins, meaning kept agreements with myself day in and day out. You start noticing a contentment that wasn't there before. Somebody might have to point it out to you. Hey, look, you're no longer cranky. You're no longer this. You're no longer that, because this contentment starts happening. And it's different than bliss. Bliss is something else, and bliss is fleeting. Like bliss is fleeting, but contentment is consistent, and fulfillment is consistent if we're on the path. And people use that term very loosely, but I'm talking about specifically on the path. On the path in so much as I am actively engaged in becoming a beneficial presence on the planet. I have made my plans and they're written out. I have agreed to do this every day, and I'm keeping my agreements. All of a sudden, contentment occurs. Are you going to make mistakes? Tons. Do you have to be perfect to start? No. If you had to be perfect to start, we would have zero change in the face of the earth. None. Because nobody's perfect. And if you wait to be perfect to start, you're going to wait till you're dead. So, in our brokenness, even after you have a soul merger, you're still going to lose your temper. You're still going to do this. You're just going to do it different than you did before, but you're still going to have human issues. The idea is to be able to start with those human issues and become a beneficial presence in spite of your own humanity. In spite of it. That's the art. That's what joy is. That's what fulfillment is. That's what contentment is. And it's yours. So all we have to do to get on this path is forget about our yesterday and make one decision, have one new idea today. Today, I've made my choice and I'm not going to quit. If you do that, you will have a completely different life than you've ever had in the past. What's interesting is once you make that commitment with your heart, your conscious and your subconscious and your soul know it, and you start acting differently and you start feeling differently from that second. So that second is yours today. That decision is yours today. That all of your yesterdays will no longer be yours. Your tomorrows will be something different. That's one thought, one decision, one commitment away. Thank you guys for today. I enjoyed talking with you. Please, God hold you, God keep you, God bless you, and we will see you next week on Tuesday.